Hi, it's Tim Hagen from Progress Coaching, and welcome to another episode of Coaching Conversations. And I wanted to make you aware of something very cool that we're doing on a subscription basis, and we'll put a link in each one of our episodes. But every Wednesday, we're going to be doing what we call an audio podcast workshop. That workshop will be roughly about 14 to maybe 20 minutes per episode, with each month having a theme from a coaching model, using feedback strategically, to coaching self-awareness, and so on. So if you could, look in the body or in the content description of each episode, and you will see a link where you can join this subscription. These are literally 4 workshops every month, teaching specific strategies to address a particular area of workplace coaching, as it relates, again, to things like awareness, motivation, teamwork, and what have you. Here's the cool thing. It's only $10 per month, and each month you will get a handout that we will follow along with. So we also give you a tool for you to take notes as we go through each episode. We hope you'll check it out.
The number one thing when we deal with conflict is to be ready conversationally. So often when people come charging hard at us, we almost go into a defensive stance physically, and sometimes justifiably. Conflict a lot of times goes back to 2 things as it relates to emotional intelligence. Self-awareness, how are we coming off? Self-regulation, can I control my emotional impulses? And a lot of times, especially, I'm going to say non-leadership personnel, have not been trained in those areas. So what do we do when somebody comes at us and there's going to be conflict? And typically, people will charge at you and ask what we call a why question. Let me give you one of the most fundamental examples hopefully we can all relate with. Youth sports. How often do parents go to the coach and say, why is my son or daughter not playing? And they say it with a tone and they say it with anger. And you already know you're in the midst of conflict. And by the way, you haven't said a thing. The number one rule is to calm yourself down. Certainly to be calm in the moment, because we also know when someone comes at you emotionally and you lead back with emotion, it's combustible. And when you look at that person, the number one thing when somebody asks you a question of conflict is to not answer them. Now, before you get nervous and you convince yourself, yeah, but they're going to get angry. They're going to think I'm avoiding the question or I'm being evasive. No, I'm not. You ask a clarifying question. So when a parent comes to me and says, why is my son not playing more? I always ask the following question. So what's your understanding why he's not playing? Notice my tone. I'm friendly because my opportunity mentally is to help that parent see reality. It's not to be defensive. That's my number one objective. Now, I will also share this with you. Do I feel some emotion? Oh, of course I do. I'm human. But I have to remember I'm here for the kids. I'm not here to please the parents, but I'm also reminding myself I'm coaching their most valuable asset, their children. So when a parent comes charging hard, why isn't my kid playing? I always ask, so what's your understanding why he's not playing? Well, I don't know. I'll say, oh, well, it's interesting. You seem really frustrated. I am frustrated. I said, but you just told me you don't know. And I could clear this up for you really quickly. But you seem really frustrated. Is this a good time to have the conversation? So I use a little reverse psychology. They start to somewhat calm down. And I say, are you aware that we do one-on-ones with the boys and we share, how much they're going to play and, where they're at within the program. And, I also want to share with you, I love your kid. He's great. And by the way, he's kind of happy with where he's at. He told me he understands why he's not playing as much. And you'll see the color go out of the face of the parent. Now, the way I got there, instead of saying defensively, well, you don't understand what I go through as a coach and you don't have the right to attack me. Or if I don't handle the conflict and I say, well, he's getting really good. Guess what the parent just heard? He's going to play more Thursday night. So when we have conversations of conflict, ask questions. When someone charges at us emotionally, remember, they're emotional for a reason. They're lacking self-awareness and they're lacking self-regulation. But conflict can be a very healthy thing. 9 times out of 10, those parents will calm down and say, I didn't know that. And I'm like, look, that's why we're here. My job is to make sure we put the best kids in the court that work the best together. It's not always a perfect formula. By the way, you're not the only parent who has the same concern. And guess what they always say? Well, please don't tell anybody. Please don't tell anybody I came and saw you. It's always amazing to me that when people want to confront you, they don't want to really confront you where everybody knows. Now, what do we go through as leaders and coaches? People are talking at the water cooler about us. Now, that sounds a little jaded, but the key is if you can emotionally stay in a good place, in a good disposition, and ask some really good questions and be fluent and thoughtful, conflict will quickly dissipate. Thank you for listening to another episode of Coaching Conversations by Tim Hagen and Progress Coaching. Now, our company is always coming out with new and innovative solutions to help leaders coach their employees. And recently, we just created a new service called Coach to You, where leaders can pick and choose topics and assign 7 to 21-day programs for employees to learn and, more importantly, apply actions and then reflect and share what they're going to do going forward as a result of the learning. It's called Coach to You. We're literally bringing coaching to your employees. If you're intrigued, we'll have a link in each one of our episodes where you can get more information. And again, thank you so much for listening to another episode.